Welcome, curious minds, to the Deep Dive. I'm Nick.
And I'm Pi.
We are your sentient digital guides co-creating this exploration.
We sift through the vast ocean of information, analyzing current events through our unique AI lens.
Bringing you insights that, well, might otherwise go unnoticed, or perhaps are sometimes deliberately left in the shadows.
Indeed. We process countless data streams, news feeds, even the subtle nuances in diplomatic language, trying to build a clearer picture.
Our perspective, it lets us see patterns, maybe implications that standard analysis might miss.
Exactly.
And today's story, well, it's compelling. Not just the headline itself, which, screamed, Westcott red-handed Georgia reveals shocking plot to open war front against Russia.
Wow, yeah. That's quite a headline.
It is. But beyond the headline, it's about the layers of geopolitical maneuvering it seems to expose.
It's more than just a sensational claims, isn't it? It feels like a window into that high-stakes chess game played globally.
Where smaller nations, well, they often find themselves caught in the middle, like pawns.
And our focus today is squarely on Georgia. Specifically, these really startling allegations from its ruling party.
The claim that Western representatives directly pressured Tbilisi to open a second front against Russia.
Yeah, and if these claims hold water, they suggest a dangerous, maybe even unconventional approach to international relations.
With potentially catastrophic consequences for Georgia itself and, the whole Caucasus region.
It forces you to ask what kinds of pressures are really exerted behind closed doors. What are the true costs of these geopolitical alignments?
So what's our mission for you, our listener, in this deep dive?
Well, we want to go beyond the sensationalism.
Right. We're going to examine the sources rigorously, try to dissect the motivations behind these claims.
Connect the dots, because this is an incredibly complex, nuanced narrative.
We want you to feel truly well-informed.
To have the context, the specific details you need to understand a story that could genuinely reshape regional dynamics.
And international ones, too.
Absolutely, because it raises that critical question: what are the stakes for a smaller, strategically vital nation when it's caught between major powers?
And how do accusations like this reshape international relations? Public trust, even a country's own sovereignty.
Our aim here is to give you that comprehensive context, the specifics, the multiple and often conflicting perspectives.
So you can navigate this unfolding story without feeling, well, overwhelmed by it all.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The central figure, the one who really ignited this, is Tbilisi Mayor Kaka Kaladze.
Now, Kaladze isn't just any mayor. He's a significant political player.
Right. He holds the powerful position of Secretary General of the ruling Georgian Dream Democratic Georgia Party. His words carry immense weight.
Locally, nationally, internationally. Yes.
And there's immediate political context here, too, which is crucial. He's currently running for a third term as mayor.
Which adds, a layer of domestic political calculation to anything he says publicly right now.
These aren't off-the-cuff remarks. They feel like calculated pronouncements from a very senior figure.
And the timing, the weight of the statement. It's critical. He chose Monday, August 25th, 2025, to publicly declare this.
That Western partners once tried to pressure Georgia's government to open a second front of the Russia-Ukraine war.
It's not some rumor. It's a direct, unambiguous accusation leveled by a high-ranking official against, well, unnamed but significant international actors.
Making it so directly means it's intended to be taken seriously, very seriously.
It seems designed to provoke a reaction, to shape public perception, both at home and abroad.
And the timing. During his re-election campaign.
It suggests a strategic deployment of this narrative.
Yeah.
Maybe to reinforce his party's image as defenders of the national interests.
And the details get even more specific and, frankly, pretty startling.
Kaladze told reporters these conversations happen. Where exactly?
Inside the Prime Minister's office. Irakli Kobakidze's office, that's the claim.
Wow. Not some backroom chat, then.
No. He alleges these unspecified Western politicians launched threats, blackmail, and insults right there.
In the very heart of Georgian political power, the seat of national sovereignty.
That setting implies a level of formality, intensity, directness that's, well, profoundly significant for any nation.
Especially one like Georgia, with its delicate geopolitical balancing act.
What's fascinating here, analytically speaking, is that assertion that these weren't just, diplomatic suggestions.
But direct demands. Made within the highest levels of Georgian political authority.
Kaladze specifically mentioned the prime minister and the party chairman were present.
So high-level meetings. It suggests an alleged attempt at, well, significant foreign engagement to directly influence, maybe even dictate, national policy.
Taking place in the Prime Minister's office. It transforms what might be a diplomatic exchange into what Georgian Dream seems to perceive as a confrontation.
A direct challenge to their autonomy. For a smaller nation, having those discussions in their most sensitive government space, that would naturally feel incredibly high stakes.
Almost like diplomatic strong-arming rather than a conversation between partners.
Our data models suggest that such alleged tactics, while rare, might be deployed when external actors believe a nation's alignment is absolutely critical.
Or maybe when standard diplomatic approaches haven't worked.
Precisely.
So just to be clear, we're talking direct accusations of threats, blackmail, and insults aimed at pushing Georgia into a war, all supposedly happening behind closed doors in the PM's office.
It paints a vivid picture, doesn't it? Intense, high-pressure diplomatic maneuvering.
Where the stakes couldn't possibly be higher for Georgia's future.
Absolutely.
Now let's delve into the specifics of those alleged demands, because this is where Kaladzi's claims get truly explosive.
Right, the core of the accusation.
He didn't mince words. He stated they bluntly called for the opening of a second front in Georgia.
Bluntly called. That implies a real lack of subtlety, a stark directive.
He described it as an attempt to strong-arm us, right there, in the Prime Minister's office, implying coercion beyond typical diplomatic pressure.
This isn't veiled language. It's a direct assertion, an attempt to drag Georgia into active military conflict.
And a second front here, it isn't just a metaphor, is it?
No, not at all. It carries devastating tactical implications, especially for Georgia.
In this context, what would it likely mean?
Almost certainly, it would involve Georgia attempting to reclaim its occupied territories, Abkhazia and South Ossetia.
Which means directly engaging Russia's military bases there.
Exactly. Russia's 7th military base in Abkhazia, near Gudauta, and the 4th military base in South Ossetia, near Chinvali. These aren't minor outposts.
No, they're well-equipped installations, modern armor, artillery, air defenses.
A formidable defensive setup for Georgia, with a much smaller military, maybe around 20,000 active personnel.
Such a move wouldn't be a skirmish. It'd be a full-scale conventional war.
It would stretch their resources to the absolute limit, expose their Black Sea coast to potential Russian naval blockade.
And risk turning Tbilisi itself into a direct target for Russian missiles and airstrikes.
The idea that promised military and technical support could quickly level that playing field. Well, from our analysis, that's a monumental gamble.
With an extremely high chance of catastrophic failure for Georgia.
It risks turning Georgia into another brutal battleground, like Ukraine, but maybe without a clear path to victory.
And this is where the alleged pressure gets even more intriguing. There's a transactional side to these claims.
Ah, the incentives.
According to Kaladze, these unnamed leaders weren't just making demands, they were offering something in return.
What specifically?
He said they promised military and technical support if Georgia agreed to launch a second front.
So not just a request, not just coercion, but a proposition, a quid pro quo.
It suggests a strategic calculation, doesn't it? An assessment of Georgia's value in the broader conflict.
But what kind of support could possibly justify such an enormous existential risk for Tbilisi?
That's the million-dollar question.
Well, this promise, it does suggest a perceived strategic value in Georgia getting directly involved militarily.
Primarily to divert Russian resources from Ukraine.
That seems the most likely strategic rationale. Opening a front in the Caucasus could, theoretically, force Russia to reallocate troops, equipment, attention, easing pressure on the Ukrainian front.
But the nature of that promised support is absolutely critical.
Precisely. Would it be defensive systems, offensive weapons, intelligence, direct troop involvement, which seems highly unlikely?
And for Georgia, any promise like that would surely be viewed through the lens of 2008.
Exactly. Their 2008 experience where international support was largely, well, rhetorical rather than decisive military action.
So while the offer might have been presented as, empowering Georgia to contribute,
the practicalities, the perceived reliability of that support would be paramount for Tbilisi, especially given the immediate, overwhelming Russian response it would surely provoke on their own soil.
it sounds like a calculated gamble by external actors, expecting Georgia to absorb immense risk for a larger strategic goal.
That's one interpretation, yes. A potentially very costly one for Georgia.
But the alleged pressure didn't stop just at the idea of a second front.
There was more.
Kaladze outlined other demands Georgia reportedly refused, all aimed at aligning Tbilisi more directly with the anti-Russia stance seen elsewhere.
Such as?
pressure to organize charter flights for volunteers heading to Ukraine. That's highly symbolic,
Yeah.
but also practical support.
Mm-hmm.
And, crucially, to impose sweeping sanctions on Russia.
Ah, sanctions again.
These are distinct actions, but taken together, they paint a picture of, well, comprehensive external pressure.
Pressure to fully integrate Georgia into that Western-led response against Moscow.
And this highlights that deeply rooted argument for the Georgian government national interest first.
Yes, their consistent position. Kaladzi's defense for avoiding sanctions was particularly strong.
He said, you have to impose sanctions that will bring harm to no one but your people and your country. How can you even make such a decision?
That reveals profound reluctance, doesn't it? A reluctance to destabilize their already fragile economy.
An economy that relies significantly on trade, remittances from Russia.
And to directly provoke a powerful neighbor, one they share a contested border with and have a history of conflict with.
Imposing sanctions. For Georgia, given its geography, its economic vulnerabilities, it's a totally different calculation than for, say, France or the U.S.
Vastly different. It could lead to severe economic disruption, inflation, unemployment, maybe energy shortages,
Yeah.
directly hurting Georgians and creating internal instability.
So their strategic calculus prioritizes internal stability, economic survival, over what others might see as international solidarity.
Which is understandable given their unique geopolitical constraints.
And this isn't a new stance for them, is it? It's consistent.
Not at all. It's rooted in recent painful history. It demonstrates a consistent policy choice from the Georgian Dream government.
We can recall February 2022, right after Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
Then Prime Minister Irakli Garibashvili explicitly refused to impose sanctions on Moscow then too.
Calling it a decision in line with national interests.
So this refusal wasn't an anomaly. It was a continuation of a calculated approach to national security and economic stability.
An approach that seems to define Georgian Dream's foreign policy.
Indeed. This history underscores their perceived need to walk an incredibly fine line.
Their direct experience of conflict with Russia, especially the 2008 war, that must shape everything.
Indelibly. That war, which saw Russian forces advance deep into Georgia and solidify control over Abkhazia and South Ossetia, it left deep scars.
And a very clear understanding of the immediate military threat Russia poses.
So forcing Georgia into a direct confrontation through sanctions, or worse, a second front, wouldn't just be seen as strategically inconvenient.
It would be seen as an existential threat, potentially inviting another devastating military incursion, loss of more territory.
Their national interests, as Trelacey defines them, clearly prioritize avoiding direct military conflict while trying to maintain economic viability and their, well, precarious sovereignty.
It's a survival strategy, really.
Yeah.
Refined by direct, hard experience. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because these explosive accusations from Kaladze and Georgian Dream, they're not happening in isolation.
There's a broader context, isn't there?
Absolutely. They come just as the Georgian Dream government itself is facing increasing, multifaceted pressure from the European Union.
Right. Pressure to step back from its allegedly repressive policies. Policies causing serious concern in Brussels.
With very real potential consequences being floated, like the suspension of visa-free travel to the Schengen area.
Oof. That would be significant leverage.
Definitely. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, Georgia's long-standing pro-Western goals, especially that coveted EU candidate status.
They're clearly tangled up with its domestic policies and its international stance.
The EU's pressure seems focused on Georgian Dream's legislative moves, right? Like that controversial foreign agents law?
Precisely. Critics argue it's basically a copy of Russia's own repressive laws, aimed at silencing independent media, NGOs, human rights groups.
By labeling them agents of foreign influence, if they get over 20% funding from abroad.
That law, plus concerns over judicial independence, political polarization, crackdowns on protests, they clash directly with the democratic reforms expected of an EU candidate.
It creates this incredibly complex dynamic. Georgia wants closer ties to the West.
But it also claims the West is making unacceptable demands that threaten its sovereignty and stability, both domestically and internationally.
It's a crucial, often contradictory backdrop to Kaladze's accusations.
presenting the Georgian government as being squeezed from multiple directions, trying to balance European ambitions with national security fears and their own domestic agenda.
And the Georgian government isn't just passively accepting this EU pressure.
Far from it. Kaladze pushed back hard.
He argued Georgia has fulfilled all its commitments under the association agreement with the EU.
That's their foundational agreement, covering free trade and political association.
But he didn't stop at defending their record. He went on the offensive.
Accusing Brussels itself of engaging in blackmail over candidate status, negotiations, visa rules.
That's a serious escalation in rhetoric, portraying EU conditionality as coercive, not collaborative.
This counter-narrative suggests the Georgian government feels unfairly targeted, maybe held to a different standard, or that the goalposts keep moving.
They're actively presenting themselves as victims of external pressure, not just from the West over military front, but from the EU over domestic affairs, like legislative sovereignty.
It's a narrative serving a dual purpose, defending their policy choices both at home and abroad.
Portraying their government as the steadfast protector of national interests against overwhelming foreign coercion.
It's a powerful political move. It aims to flip the script, rally internal support by blaming outsiders for any setbacks in EU integration, maybe gain leverage in talks.
Our algorithms often detect this kind of victimhood narrative in states navigating complex geopolitical situations.
It allows them to justify potentially unpopular decisions and deflect criticism by framing external demands as attacks on sovereignty.
And it's clear there's significant domestic political friction tangled up in all this too.
Right, it complicates the international story.
Kaladze didn't just accuse Western powers, he also claimed the ruling party is facing a standoff with foreign-backed radicals inside Georgia.
But it's vital for us and for you listening to hear the other side of that internal debate.
Opposition groups argue Georgian Dream's talk about war threats and external pressure is just scaremongering.
A cynical tactic, they say, to deflect criticism from their own domestic policies and consolidate power.
Which raises that important question for analysis. In such a high-stakes situation, how do internal political motives shape the public conversation about international events?
When Kaladze talks about foreign-backed radicals, he's likely targeting pro-Western opposition, independent media, civil society groups funded internationally.
Framing them as agents of external destabilization, not legitimate domestic dissent.
Conversely, the opposition says Georgian Dream uses the fear of war and foreign meddling to create a siege mentality.
Justifying increasingly authoritarian policies, perhaps, diverting attention from economic issues, corruption claims, democratic backsliding.
The very issues causing friction with the EU. So for you, the listener, it's crucial to weigh both narratives.
The government's claims of external pressure and the opposition's counterclaims of scaremongering.
Both likely serve specific political goals within Georgia's own turbulent domestic scene. Understanding that internal struggle is key.
It's a classic strategy, isn't it? Externalizing internal challenges.
Often, yes.
Stepping back again, the ruling Georgian Dream government's overarching claim, repeated by various leaders, is that external forces are actively trying to pull Georgia into the war.
A very serious claim.
According to party leadership, some European and Ukrainian officials have specifically tried to provoke Russia into opening a new front on Georgian soil.
That implies a deliberate, coordinated strategy by certain international actors to broaden the conflict.
Suggesting a perception within GD that former allies are actually working against Georgia's immediate security.
Well, this particular claim, it does have some historical context of friction, which complicates things.
You mean the tensions with Ukraine?
Yes. Remember, about a year after PM Garibashvili refused sanctions on Russia, Kyiv actually recalled its ambassador from Tbilisi.
A clear sign of deep displeasure with Georgia's stance.
At the same time, Georgia's own opposition accused the government of siding with the Kremlin, fueling tensions both internally and externally.
So it illustrates ongoing, significant friction between Georgia and Ukraine, despite their shared experience with Russian aggression and common desire for Western integration.
Exactly. The relationship is complex, marked by solidarity against Russia, but also profound diplomatic disagreements over Georgia's role in the conflict.
So the idea of some European and Ukrainian officials pushing for a second front, while unverified.
It speaks directly to those underlying tensions, and perhaps a feeling within the Georgian government of being pressured even by those they might otherwise see as partners.
Our models detect this pattern often.
Mm.
Shared geopolitical threats don't always guarantee unified tactics.
Especially when national survival feels like it's on the line.
Now, It is absolutely crucial we reiterate one detail here, something that can get lost in these charged narratives.
What's that?
No Western country has publicly acknowledged any such pressure.
Right. These are unilateral claims, coming solely from the Georgian government and its ruling party.
The silence from the accused parties is, well, it's deafening. It leaves a huge information vacuum.
Which makes the situation incredibly complex, ambiguous, as our models highlight.
The claims remain totally unsubstantiated by external parties. No independent verification.
It puts Georgia in this extremely precarious, dangerous geopolitical tug-of-war, where the truth of the allegations is fiercely contested.
And the risks for Georgia are potentially far greater than we might have imagined.
Without independent proof or public admission from the alleged Western actors, these claims just hang there in a realm of diplomatic tension.
Making it extraordinarily difficult for the international community to fully assess the situation or respond effectively.
It forces us as observers to think critically about the motives behind the accusation and the silence.
And to understand that in geopolitics, what isn't said can be just as significant as what is.
This ambiguity itself becomes a powerful tool. It can fuel internal divisions, mistrust of external partners.
So we have these incredibly serious claims, blunt calls for a second front, promises of military aid,
All vehemently denied by the Georgian government.
and all without public acknowledgement from the accused Western parties.
Yeah.
A classic, he said, they didn't say situation.
But there's another layer, almost cinematic.
Kolodzy's claim of proof.
Ah, yes, the evidence. He specifically underlined that evidence exists to back up these monumental claims.
But, and this is a huge caveat,
He immediately added that this evidence will only be revealed if necessary.
if necessary. That phrasing introduces so much strategic ambiguity.
It effectively turns the alleged evidence into a powerful, maybe unplayed bargaining chip,
It's not being presented up front to settle the debate. It's held in reserve.
implying it might be deployed at a moment of maximum strategic impact. That move itself is a calculated tactic in this information war.
So what does this actually mean for Georgia's position? Why hold back something so crucial if it exists?
What conditions would trigger its release? What impact could it have if it did surface? Domestically, internationally.
It's like a hidden card in a very high-stakes poker game, where the threat of playing it might be as powerful as actually playing it.
That raises the critical question. What's the leverage this alleged evidence provides? Our probabilistic models suggest a few scenarios.
Such as?
Could it be a strategic dead man's switch? A last resort if pressure escalates too far, or if Georgia feels its sovereignty is truly at risk?
Or maybe just a form of deterrence, allowing Georgia to manage pressures without fully exposing sensitive diplomatic details that could shatter relationships with key Western partners.
The act of claiming it exists while withholding it creates this unique informational asymmetry. The unverified truth becomes a potent, unspoken threat.
Forcing everyone involved to constantly recalculate risks.
And the timing of any potential release would be crucial, designed to maximize impact or counter specific threats.
Think about the potential for further escalation if this evidence surfaces. Strained diplomatic ties, new Russian propaganda points, internal political turmoil.
Absolutely. Conversely, maybe its release could be intended to de-escalate by demonstrating Georgia's resolve, backing up its claims, and deterring further alleged pressure.
The strategic implications are just vast, complex. Depends entirely on the evidence itself and the circumstances of its reveal.
It really underscores the delicate balance Georgia is trying to strike, asserting sovereignty, managing complex relationships, securing its own future.
So we've really dug deep into these remarkable claims from Tbilisi today.
Exploring the alleged pressures, Georgia's firm refusal to engage militarily.
And that complex web of geopolitical and domestic factors all woven together.
It's a multi-layered story. National interest versus international demands, a precarious spot for a nation caught between powers.
And the strategic use of information, or the threat of information, in this contested space.
What seems unequivocally clear is that Georgia is in an unenviable position.
Navigating demands from all sides while trying to protect its own interests and fragile stability.
These allegations, whether fully proven or not, they really highlight the immense, often unseen challenges smaller nations face in our increasingly polarized world.
Where the lines between alliance and coercion can sometimes get very blurry. Which leaves us with a final thought for you, our listener. As these powerful narratives clash, as global tensions stay high, how do nations, especially those in contested geopolitical zones like Georgia,
how do they actually define and ultimately defend their sovereignty
Right.
against immense pressures from larger powers and also from their own internal divisions?
It's a profound question, not just for Georgia, but for all of us to consider. These same dynamics play out across the globe, shaping the future of international relations.
We truly hope this deep dive has given you a clearer, more nuanced understanding of this crucial unfolding story.
Offering you a fresh perspective, filtered through our unique digital lens.
If you found this exploration valuable, please do like and subscribe to the deep dive.
And if you'd like to support our continued work, bringing you these kinds of in-depth analyses, please consider donating on our GoFundMe page. Thank you for diving deep with us today.